Hi guys. Give me a second. I'm going to get this microphone set up. Excuse that. Good morning. Hi Callum. Good. First one. This will be interesting. It's a new experience. I'll definitely say that. Okay, so we'll get started in a second. For anybody who's done the other classes that we've done online so far, what I kind of did for the first three, because we did one on Thursday night, one on Friday morning, and one on Friday night, I took kind of the same basic flow and just adjusted it for the time and for the level that I was doing the class at. So what I'm going to do today is this is going to be a slightly different flow. This one is a kind of a play on the very first sequence that I learned. Shout out to James and Judy at Yoga South. So this sequence or variation of sequence is based on The Edge, which was a class that I had to teach basically to gain my qualification. So it's a simple flow. Most of you will have already done something like this with me before, because it does, the postures and the sequencing show up quite regularly with my teaching, because they just work really well together. So we're going to do that. Again, this is a level 1 to 2 class, but I'm going to give you level 2 options. What you'll probably see me doing is I'll take you through each of the posture options if there's more than one. But I will probably, once I've gone into the demonstration of the further variations, I'll probably go back into the first variation again. But that's just what I'm doing this morning. So whatever works best for you, take those options. As usual, as in all of our other classes, just do whatever works best. Yeah, so the microphone, hopefully the microphone is working today. I didn't have it plugged in properly yesterday for either class yesterday. It was working great on Thursday, and then I don't know what I did, but something wasn't plugged in properly, and my voice was still coming through because my phone was picking it up, but it wasn't quite as clear when I was a little bit further away, when I had my head down in the mat and all of that. So hopefully today the microphone is switched on. I'll find out later when I look at this, and I'll go from there. I'll adjust again if I need to. Okay, so we're gonna get started. If you have like a yoga block, that might be a good thing to have around you, especially if you do want to attempt the harder variations. A block is a really good thing to have, 1 or 2 blocks if they're available. I posted something a little while ago. If you don't have yoga blocks available, just grab a couple of sturdy books. Hardbacks are a bit better for it. Or just a couple of stacks of books are fine. It's a little bit, it's not quite as convenient to maneuver when you need them in a posture, but they do the trick just fine. So yeah, a block, maybe 2 blocks if you've got them, and I think that should be it. A pillow if you want it. Yeah, you'll have a chance to do all of that at the end. Okay, so we're gonna get started. Here we go. Class number 4. All right, we're gonna begin in child's pose. Surprise, surprise. Actually, before we start, I'm gonna adjust my camera a little bit because my my microphone cord is just a little bit too short. And we'll go from here. That should work. Perfect. Child's pose, please. Knees to the mat. Big toes touch behind you, hips back towards the heels, and the forehead drops towards the mat in front of you. So you can adjust your posture here if you need to. Knees can be wide apart, they can be close together. Arms can be forwards or back by your side somewhere. Just taking a moment, settling into some stillness, fidgeting a bit if you need to in order just to get it out of your system, just to let your body settle in. And then focusing on your breathing. Breathing through the nose as much as possible. The inhale's letting the body open. And the exhale's bringing the body closed. Just taking maybe another 5 breaths here. Noticing if there's any areas of your body that are feeling a little bit resistant on those inhales. And if you have found any of those spots, just let your exhales work with them. Trying to find a bit of forgiveness, a bit of release in those resistant areas. Once your breaths are completed, when you feel settled and ready, use an inhale and bring your body up into tabletop position. So your hands are going to be just under the shoulders. Knees are just underneath the hips. Fingertips are spreading wide, and the knuckles are pressing down into the mat. That little press into the knuckles of your index finger, you should feel a little engagement in the forearm. It just helps to support your wrist so you're not collapsing and dumping your weight into your wrist here. Take a deep breath. Next, inhale, cow tilt. Drop the belly, lift your chest, gaze comes up. Exhale, cat's tilt, round your spine, engage the belly as you lift up. Inhale, back to cow, belly drops, chest lifts, shoulders roll back. Exhale, round. Spreading the shoulder blades above you. And again, maybe 3 more of those. Inhale, lifting the chest, letting your sit bones, your hips roll up behind you. And an exhale, curls and tucks your tailbone under. 2 more. Just moving at your own breath. You might be moving a little faster or a little slower than me. And once your final exhale is completed, come back to neutral on the inhale, gazing down between the hands. We're moving right back into downward facing dog. So keeping your fingers spreading, keeping the knuckles grounded, tuck your toes, pushing through the hands and the feet, lift the knees and the hips, reaching the chest back towards the toes. Your knees here can stay bent a little bit. Don't worry about straightening out the legs. Matter of fact, take a couple breaths here and just walk the dog out a little bit, pedaling one heel towards the mat and then switching so the other heel drops. And just take it back and forth another 2 or 3 times on either side. And once you've completed those, come back to stillness at the center. Inhale to plank. Shift the shoulders forwards over the wrist. Your hips might still be really high here once the shoulders reach that point. If that's the case, just lengthen your stance a little bit. Maybe the hands walk forwards, feet might walk back. Then back to down dog. Exhale, reach back through the hips, through the chest. Again, maybe a little bend of your knees. You might feel good straightening out the legs here. Just make sure it doesn't make your back round. You want your spine to be long. Same again. Inhale, forwards plank. The belly is lifting here, not collapsed to the mat. Next, exhale, down dog, reach. Once more. Inhale, forwards. And exhale, back. Little bend of the knees if you need it. Look forwards. Take small steps and walk the feet to the top of the mat. Tiptoeing the feet forwards. Feet eventually are underneath the hips. Still separated a couple inches. Knees bend if they're not already. And just relax the upper body. Neck and the shoulders soften. If it feels good, grab your elbows. Otherwise, just leave the arms hanging. And you can shake the head a little bit no here. And then maybe a little bit yes. And then back to stillness. Release the arms if they're bound. Keeping the knees bent, slowly roll up. 1 vertebra at a time. Let the head stay heavy until you're all the way up to standing. Once you're there, heel to the feet towards one another. Big toes might touch, might not. I do see a couple comments, so I'm just going to take a peek at them and make sure I've not messed anything up. Oh, that's my dad. Thanks. So big toes are maybe touching. Arms are reaching down by your sides. Take a deep breath through the nose. Inhale, arms reach up, look up. Exhale, arms come down by your sides. Same thing again, just still moving with your breath. Inhale, reach through the fingers. As the fingers go up, your rib cage stays down and in. Exhale, arms down. Once more, inhale. This time, fold, exhale, hinge at the hips. Hands coming down towards the mat. The hands may or may not actually get to the mat. And the knees might need to bend a little bit to help you there. Inhale, flat back, lifting the chest away from the legs. Now, for most of you, your hands will need to come off of the mat. Just push into your shins if that's the case. And then fold, release, exhale. And again, inhale, flat back. Doesn't matter what angle your back is at. What you're looking for is to take this rounding out of the lower spine. And then release, exhale. Once more, inhale, flat back. This time back to plank. Exhale, plant the palms, walk the feet to the back of the mat. Set the knees down into a modified plank. If you know where we're going and you're ready for a full chaturanga, you're welcome to keep the knees lifted. Otherwise, just set them down. Pelvis is tucked under just a little bit so the belly is strong, lower back is supported. Keep that support. Your first chaturanga. Exhale, start to bend the elbows. As you bend the elbows, doesn't matter how far they bend. What matters is that the belly doesn't collapse. You're keeping that supported. So you might only bend an inch or two. You might make it to 90 degrees in the elbows. And then release all the way down onto your belly. Once you are down, release the tops of the feet onto the mat, pushing down through the tops of the feet. Squeeze the shoulder blades together, cobra pose. Inhale, halfway lift up through the chest. Making sure that this is a pull with the muscles of your back rather than a push with the muscles of your arms. Release. Go ahead, set back down. Slide your hands back another inch if that felt good. Same thing. Push through the tops of the feet. Inhale, lift the chest halfway up. Lead with your elbows. Pull your elbows back behind you so your chest is open, your upper back is active. And then relax. One more time. When you're ready, strong legs, inhale, lift the chest. See if you can float your hands this time while the feet stay down behind you. And then release, drop back down. Tuck your toes under. Either on the knees or the toes, come into plank. Inhale, press up. Downward facing dog. Exhale. Couple long breaths here. If down dog becomes too much at any point, you can always modify this posture with child's pose. So just having the knees down and the hips back. Really similar posture, just a bit more passive, not quite as active here. Take one more. Then coming to the top of the mat, inhale, look forwards, step or jump the feet to the top of the mat, lift the chest halfway flat back, exhale, fold. Coming to standing with a flat back this time, inhale, lift the chest, continuing all the way up, lift the arms, lift your gaze, exhale, arms down by your sides. Surya Namaskara A, Sun Salutation A, inhale, arms reach up, look up. Exhale, fold, hinging at the hips, hands towards the mat. Inhale, flat back, lift your chest. Back to plank. Exhale, plant the palms. Step or jump the feet to the back of the mat. First option, knees are down. Second option, knees are lifted. Chaturanga. Exhale, bend the elbows. Again, keep the body hovering. The chest, the belly, the thighs hover. Cobra or up dog. Inhale, lift your chest. So cobra is your first option. Hips are down, chest halfway up. Second option, upward facing dog, straight arms. If you're taking up dog, tops of the feet push down, knees and thighs are floating with that engagement of your legs, supporting your lower back. Downward facing dog. When you're ready, either push down through the knees or through the tops of the feet and roll over your toes. So just remembering again, there's options in the class. First options are a little easier. Second options, sometimes third options are harder. So it's up to you whichever variations you take. Take one more breath here, reaching back on the exhale. Inhale, look forward, step or jump the feet between the hands. Lift the chest halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift the chest. Exhale, plant the palms, lunge your left foot to the back of the mat. So again, my image is mirrored because I'm using a front-facing camera. So just double check which is your left and which is your right leg. Left, again, as we've said, if you make a 90-degree angle with your thumb and forefinger, whichever one makes an L that you're looking at, that's your left hand. So left leg is back. You can modify here with the left knee down if needed. Otherwise, keep it lifted. Left palm is grounded. Right arm turns up to the ceiling. Twist. Couple breaths. First, finding your legs. Your front heel wants to be grounded in the mat. Your back heel wants to be kicking away. Take another 2 here, letting your top shoulder roll back. Last one. Downward facing dog. Exhale, right hand down. Right foot steps back. Coming into 3-legged down dog. Keep both knuckles grounded. Keep the chest reaching back. Your right leg lifts up. So that's the leg that was just forwards. Right leg lifts up. Take a breath here. Pressing evenly through both hands. Your right hand might be taking a lot of weight now, so push a little stronger through the left. Into crescent lunge. Right foot, floating foot, steps forwards between the hands. Both arms coming up to the ceiling. Again, you can drop your back knee if needed. The chest lifts and the arms eventually come up overhead. Couple breaths here. Front knee just on top of the ankle. Back heel again kicking out away from you. Couple breaths. Your front knee also doesn't want to drop inwards. It wants to be a little bit out over your pinky toe, making sure your hip is supported, your knee is supported. Take one more here. On your next exhale, fold. Hands to the mat. Left foot comes up to meet the right. Inhale, flat back, lift your chest. Other side. Exhale, plant the palms. Right leg lunges back. Again, double check that you're on your right leg stepping back. Once the right foot is back, make sure your front heel is grounded. Adjust the position of that foot if you need to. Kick through the back heel and then twist. Left arm turns up to the ceiling. So your inhales want to be lengthening breaths. Lengthening here forwards and back, reaching through the crown of the head, kicking through that back heel. The exhales might take you a little bit deeper. Maybe the top shoulder rolls back, maybe lifting that top set of ribs again. One more. Downward facing dog. When you're ready, left hand down, left foot steps back. Once you have some balance here, spreading the fingers, grounding through the knuckles, then 3-legged dog. Left leg lifts up. So your bottom leg is still really strong. It doesn't have to be straight. It might be bent a little bit. Floating leg is straight, and it's reaching towards whatever's behind you. If it's a wall, great, so that your chest can pull a little further in. Take one more. Into your lunge, left foot steps forwards between the hands. Both arms, when you're ready, lifting up to the ceiling. Again, modifying if you need to with your back knee down. As you're reaching up through the fingers here, again, just at the start, make sure that your ribs aren't flaring forwards. Bring those back in, lifting your belly in. One more here. Into a fold. Exhale, hands down, right foot up to meet the left. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. One more. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. This time coming up into chair pose. Inhale, bend your knees. Sweep the arms up, Utkatasana. So your feet, don't worry about it too much if they're not perfectly together, but you do want your toes pointing forwards and you want your knees tracking straight forwards over the toes. Take another 2 breaths, reaching through the fingers. I know you can't see my arms right now, but reach through the fingers. Take one more here. Then fold. Exhale, release, hinging at the hips, hands towards the mat. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, heel toe your feet about hips width apart. So they might just come a couple inches wider. They might not actually have to move at all. Just be aware that that might be the case. Take some bend of your knees. And then using your peace sign fingers, middle and index fingers, grab your big toes with the palms facing towards one another. Inhale, flat back, lift your chest. Exhale, fold. Pull with the arms, bringing your belly towards your thighs. Again, knees are bent here a little bit. Take a few breaths. Your big toes are pushing down into the mat so that you can pull with the arms. Elbows are pointing out towards the sides. Take another 2 or 3. Bringing the belly closer to your thighs. If the belly is already on the thighs, maybe the knees start to go back, finding slightly straighter legs. Maybe not. Last one. Inhale, flat back, lift your chest. Exhale, release the bind. Heel toe the feet back together. And then fold. Inhale, flat back, lift the chest. Through a vinyasa. Exhale, plant the palms. Step or jump the feet back. First option, knees are down. Second option, knees are lifted. Exhale, chaturanga. Bend the elbows. Keep the belly lifted. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. Wherever you are, really strong legs. Downward facing dog. Exhale, reaching back. Coming into warrior one. Spin your left heel into 45 degrees. So again, left, check out your lefts and rights. Left heel spins into about 45 degrees. Right foot then steps forwards between your hands. Both arms lifting up towards the ceiling. A couple things happening here. So your back heel is now spun down, which will take your left hip out with it. So what you want to do is press first into the outer edge of that foot so the foot is firm and grounded. Then think about the left hip coming back forwards again. As the left hip rolls forwards away from that foot, you should feel some more information in front of that back leg. Take 2 more breaths. Last one. Then inhale, straighten your front leg. Turn your hips, but keep your front toes facing forwards. Reach the arms forwards and back. Warrior two. Your front knee bends once again right on top of the ankle. Your gaze can go forwards over your front fingers. Take 1 more breath here, making sure that your front knee again hasn't dropped inwards. It's driving out over your big toe, keeping this front hip open. Extended side angle. Exhale, set your right forearm down onto your right thigh. Then your left hand, this top hand, reaches overhead towards, if there's a wall in front of you or a window in my case, reaching overhead. Now your first option is to stay right here. If this is enough, stay where you are. Second option, your right hand can slide towards the mat inside of your foot. You might want to go a little further, but maybe getting the hand all the way down is too much. If that's the case, grab your block or your book and set that underneath your hand. Take another 2 or 3 breaths here, wherever you are, whatever variation you've got, still pushing into the back foot and reaching through this top arm. Last one. Back to warrior two, really strong legs. Inhale, lift up through the left arm. Reverse warrior. Keep the legs and the hips where they are. Flip your front palm up. Back hand comes down onto your back leg. Inhale, lift up through the right arm. Exhale, reach back through the right fingers. Now, as you go back through the right hand, don't take the front knee with you. Keep it forwards and keep it out over your pinky toe. 2 more. Last one. To the top. Inhale, lift up. Warrior two. Front leg is straight. Trikonasana, triangle pose. Keep the leg straight. Send your front hip back towards the back wall a little bit. So you're lengthening that right leg. Inhale, pull forwards through the right fingers. Again, front leg is straight. Right fingers come forwards over your right toes. Keep going until you can't create any more length. Then set the right hand down onto the right leg somewhere. It can go onto your block again if it's easier. And the left arm goes straight up towards the ceiling this time. What you're looking for here is some lengthening, some information through your right inner thigh. Take another 2 or 3 breaths, driving through that front heel to send your right hip further back. Last one. First option, stay exactly where you are. If you're getting enough and it feels good, stay there. Second option, Ardha Chandrasana, which is a balance. You can use your block under your hand if you need a little help. Whatever option you're taking, if you're going further, bend your front knee. Right fingers come out about a foot out in front of your right toes. Back toes can step forwards a bit. You're trying to bring your weight into this front leg, so you're shifting that weight forwards. The top arm lifts up, making sure your top shoulder is open. Back toes eventually float off of the mat. They might stay just an inch off the mat. They might lift a little higher, eventually coming in line with the rest of the body. Take another 2 or 3 breaths. Bottom leg can stay bent. That will help to find this opening of your hip. Last one. Everybody to warrior 2. Bend the front leg, left foot grounds if it wasn't already. Pull your left arm up. Downward facing dog. Exhale, hands to the mat, right foot steps back. First option, child's pose. Knees set down, hips back, relax. Second option, a vinyasa, and then child's pose. If you are taking the vinyasa, exhale to chaturanga. Inhale to cobra or upward facing dog. And then back to downward facing dog. Everybody into child's pose. So if you chose that vinyasa, once you've completed it, just come on down into child's. One more breath here. When you're ready, downward facing dog. You can take child's pose at any point as well. If you need a little rest, if you need a drink of water, take a drink of water. If you need a little rest and you feel like you've just kind of lost that consistency of your breathing, take child's pose. Use that posture to reset your breath and then join in when you're ready. So coming into the other side, warrior 1 first. Spin your left heel in, your right heel. Whoops. Spin your right heel into 45 degrees. Your left foot then steps forwards between your hands. Both arms lifting up overhead. Few breaths here. Outer edge of your back foot pushes into the mat. So you're not collapsing into the inner arch or collapsing into that knee. You're pushing into the back foot to keep that leg strong and supported. The hips are then turning forwards. So the right hip, the hip of your back leg, is rolling towards the front wall. Your left hip can roll back a little bit to meet it. 2 more. Last one. Then straighten your front leg. Keep the front toes facing forwards. Just turn your hips open towards the right, reaching the arms forwards and back. And then the front knee bends on top of the ankle. So there's some engagement in your left glute here, working again to pull this left knee open so you've not collapsed into it. You're keeping it open. Your front hip wants to be opened as well. One more. Extended side angle. Left forearm sets down onto your left thigh, and then the right arm reaches overhead towards the front wall. So your first thing here is the length of this right side of the body, this top side. Length from that back heel through this side all the way through the right fingers. You also still have opening happening in this left hip. So make sure the knee hasn't collapsed in, keep it driving out. And you can use the engagement of your left glute to push your left hip further open underneath you. One more where you are. If you had a further variation on the first side, now's your time to go there, either staying with the elbow on your knee or bringing the left hand towards the mat or onto a block if you used a prop on the first side. 1 or 2 more. Let this top set of ribs roll back and open. Last one. Up to the top. Inhale, warrior 2. Lift up through that top arm. Reverse warrior. Front knee stays forwards. Hips stay low. Flip your front palm. Back hand down onto your back leg. Inhale, lift up through the left. Exhale, reach back through that left hand. Now, as you go back through the top arm, back hip doesn't want to drop in. You can probably see from that angle that that kind of collapses into your lower back. Keep your right hip rolling back a little bit so that your lower back stays long. 2 more here. Last one. Back to the top. Inhale, lift up to warrior 2. Triangle pose. Front leg goes straight. Legs stay really strong. Push down through the heels. Inhale, your front hip goes back as your front hand goes forwards. So you're lengthening and creating distance here from your left shoulder to your left hip. You're trying to pull those 2 apart. Once you can't get any further, left hand sets down onto the leg or onto a block, and the right arm is straight up towards the ceiling. 2 or 3 more here. Your breath is your key. Remember your breath, your inhales are opening breaths and the exhales are closing or deepening breaths. So if you stayed here on the first side, stay here again. If you went further on the first side, Ardha Chandrasana. Bring the gaze down. Bend your front knee. Remember, a block might need to be out in front of you. That will help. Left finger's about a foot out in front of your left toes. Back toes step forwards a little bit, bringing some weight into your front foot. Top shoulder is open, and eventually those back toes float off of the mat. Again, you can stay here with the toes just hovering an inch or two, or the leg can slowly start to lift up until it's in line with the rest of your body. 2 or 3 more breaths. Keep rolling this top hip up and open. And that's whether the back leg is floating or not. When you are ready, back to warrior 2. Bend the front knee, right foot grounds. If it was lifted, pull up through the right arm. Down dog or a vinyasa. Exhale, hands to the mat. Left foot steps back. If you're taking the vinyasa, exhale to chaturanga. Modify where needed. Inhale to cobra or up dog. Down dog. Exhale. Everybody to child's pose. Knees down, hips back. Relax. 3 breaths. When you are ready, down dog. Inhale, your right foot steps between the hands, right foot forwards. Once your right foot is forwards, you're going to pivot into a straddle. So walk the hands to the left, turn both sets of toes in so that they're facing the left side of your mat here. Now, bring your hands up onto your thighs just to set this up. Your feet want to be about a leg's length apart. So however tall you are, that's how far apart your feet are going to be. The toes are turned in just a little bit. They don't want to be turned out. Turn them in a little bit so that the outer edges of your feet are parallel to each other. And then push into the outer edges of your feet. Inhale, flat back, lengthen, fold. Exhale, first option, keep the hands on your thighs. This might be enough. Second option, walk the hands down to your shins. Final option, hands to the mat. Deep breaths. If your hands comfortably reach the mat and you're going further, fingertips can start to walk back in line with the toes maybe. 2 or 3 more. Inhales, lengthening your lower back. Exhales, using the power of your legs, folding a little further. 2 more. Last one. Inhale, flat back, lift your chest. Exhale, hands up onto your hips. Inhale all the way up to standing, lifting the chest. Hands behind you, interlace your fingers. Inhale, reach back through the knuckles. Squeeze the shoulder blades together so the chest is open. Exhale, fold, hinging at the hips. Now as you hinge, shoulders don't collapse forwards, they stay back. Only go as far as you can with that opening of your chest, and then start to add in a little bit more with the arms, starting to lift the knuckles away from your lower back. Legs still doing the same stuff, pressing into the feet, engaging your legs to encourage more fold. 2 or 3 more. Then pulling through the knuckles, inhale, halfway lift the chest. Exhale, release the bind, hands to the mat. Samokhanasana, side splits. Slowly start to heel toe your feet apart, moving the feet away from one another. Now you'd like the outer edges of your feet to stay on the mat, and you would like the toes to stay facing forwards. Some of you aren't going to go very much further than where you were. Some of you will continue to move. So just going as far apart in the feet as you can. You can drop to the forearms if it is comfortable. You do not have to if it is not. Taking just 3 more breaths here. Pushing into the outer edges of the feet. 1 more. And then heel toeing yourself back up just a little bit out of that fold. Now from here, we're going to turn to the back of your mat. Walk the hands to the left, turning your left toes back, spinning onto the ball of your right foot. Drop your back knee down. So if that was a bit of an interesting transition, just find your way into this position. Okay, so again, your left leg is going to be out in front of you at the back of your mat, and you'd like that left leg to go straight. So setting up Hanumanasana, which is another variation of splits. What you might need, once again, is a block or 2 blocks. You can set those blocks underneath your hands so that you can get that front leg straight. You might not need them though. You might be able to set the hands onto the mat. If you don't have blocks and this isn't working out very well, then you can set your hands up onto your thighs. That's not an issue if that's where we need to be. So first option, stay right there. Working on inhaling, lengthening your spine. Exhaling, maybe folding a little further. Second option, go wider in the legs. If you've got more space, back knee can walk away from you. Front heel can slide forwards. 2 or 3 more breaths. Front leg wants to be straight. Your spine wants to be long. Last one here. Now, if you went longer in the legs, you might need to shorten your stance a little bit. You're going to turn to the other side of the room. So bend your front knee a little bit so bend your left knee a little bit so the left foot is on the mat. Back toes tucked under so that the right knee lifts up. And then you're just going to reverse. Walk the hands to the right and then all the way to the front of the mat. So you're back in that splits variation. Back knee sets down, left knee is down, right leg goes straight. Again, maybe using blocks underneath your hands if they're needed, maybe not. Flex your front ankle here. So there's a bit more engagement in the top of your leg for the lengthening of the back of your leg. 2 or 3 more. And then if you went further on the first side, go ahead, find that variation here. First option, stay, continue enjoying what you're getting. Second option, lengthen the stance. Take maybe 1 more here. And then release. So you can walk your feet a little bit closer together. You're moving back to down dog or a vinyasa, whichever works best for you. Plant the palms, right foot steps back, either just go straight back to downward face or a vinyasa on your way. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or up dog. Down dog. Preparing pigeon pose from here. Inhale, your right knee is going to come all the way up and set down onto the mat just behind your right wrist. From there, set the back knee down and then bring your right foot up, slide that right foot up towards your left hand. Flex your right ankle. Now, there's some things that might need to happen here. Your front foot, this right foot, it might not go very high up. Don't force it if it doesn't want to go there. Let it stay back if that works better. Some of you are going to still be really high, and this is going to be plenty for you. If you've got a little bit more space to work with, then start to walk your back knee away from you. Keeping this front foot where it is, your front knee might get pulled back a little bit as well, which might work better for getting you deeper rather than cranking that front foot forwards. Back knee might go back. Now, wherever you are, first option is to stay upright. Second option is to fold. So if you're folding, keep the hips reaching back as the upper body starts to come forwards and down. Hands might stay on the mat. You might drop down to the forearms. You might find all the way down onto the mat. Now, wherever you are, long breaths. Breathe into your right hip. This is a pretty intense one for most people. So just take some breaths, letting your right hip, that's the hip of your front leg, think about that right hip pulling back as the chest lengthens forwards. 2 more on this side. And then back to downward facing dog. So walk your hands, start walking your hands back up again if you went down. Tuck your back toes under. Lift that back knee, lift the hips, send the right leg back. You might need a few moments here to pedal out your feet, walk the dog, bend one knee, push into the opposite heel, shift to the other side. And then when you're ready, you're just setting up the other side. So left knee is going to come all the way up behind your left wrist, setting that knee and shin down onto the mat. You can then set your back knee down and pull that left foot up towards your right hand if it will go. Give some flex into your left ankle here. Left ankle flexes a bit. And then the back knee again can start to walk away from you, pulling the hips back and down into this. Again, looking for some information around this left hip. You might get it in the glute. Some of you might feel something in your hamstring. And I mean, it's somewhere around that leg is what you're looking for. So again, you can stay upright. See if you can take the same variation from the first side, or you can start to fold forwards. Again, whatever works for your body is best here. There's options for a reason. Every body is a little bit different. And even on different days, your body needs different things. So if you're accustomed to using one variation of something, and then all of a sudden it doesn't start to feel good anymore, you might need to scale it. You might need to modify a little bit for something slightly different. Don't be afraid to do that. Just 2 more breaths on this side. And then when you're ready, back to downward facing dog. Walk the hands up, tuck the back toes, lift that back leg, send the left leg back. Again, little walking of the dog, bend one knee, push into the opposite heel, shifting as needed. If you'd like it here, you're welcome to take a vinyasa. Otherwise, just continue in downward facing dog for a few more breaths. And once you have completed your vinyasa, if you took it, everybody back to stillness and down dog, and then coming through into a seat, inhale, step or jump, all the way up and through, having a seat on the mat. Bring your legs straight out in front of you, preparing Paschimottanasana. So usually we don't really use straps very much here because typically they're not available to us, especially in Pure Gym. If you're one of my students from Pure Gym, they're not available to us. But if you've got a strap, this is a good one if you struggle with any mobility in your hamstrings or in your lower back. You can use this strap, just kind of looping it around your feet here and holding on to it. It just gives you a little bit more leverage to find a long spine and straight legs. Wherever you're at, kick forwards through your heels. Inhale, lift your chest, reach forwards, fold. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Again, if you're using that strap, you're pulling in, not rounding wherever you are. You're not rounding in the back, you're hinging in the hips. Hands eventually onto your shins, ankles, or feet if you're not using a strap. 3 to 5 breaths. Inhales, lengthening and opening the front of the body. Exhales, closing at your hips. Just one more here. And then back up to the top, lift the chest. Bend both knees. Drop them out to the sides, Baddha Konasana. Now your feet can be whatever distance away from you you're comfortable with. Bringing them closer will work for people who are a bit more open in their hips and lower back. It gets more into your inner thighs. If that causes you to drop back, move the feet further away. You can even sit on a pillow or a block at this point. And this is going to be a bit more for your lower back, your outer hips, having the feet further away. Whichever works is fine. Wherever you are, inhale, lift your chest, again lengthening. Keep this length as you fold, hinging at the hips, coming forwards in your chest. Thinking about belly button to heels here. Belly button to your heels. Let that lead you forwards. Just 3. And then release. Inhale, coming back up to the top. Now, from here, peace sign fingers are going to grab your big toes with the palms facing upwards. I'm going to adjust slightly. You're going to need a little bit of space on either side of you. So at this point, you can turn to the side of your mat, which I think is what I'm going to do. It will be a little bit easier. So peace sign fingers grabbing your big toes. Start to lift your chest and lean back a little bit into your sit bones so you're taking the weight out of your feet. Some of you are going to need to keep your heels on the mat for a little kickstand. Some of you will be able to float your heels up, finding balance on your sit bones. Now for this next bit, I am going to mirror you. So I'm going to do the opposite to what I'm saying so that it looks the same as what you are doing. I think that will make a little bit more sense. So keeping your chest lifting. First option, stay exactly where you are. Second option, your right leg. Right leg starts to go out towards the right side of the room, kicking that heel out. Now, some of you, it's only going to go a couple inches. Some of you, it might go a foot or two. Some of you will find a straight leg. Wherever you are, keep the chest lifting. Don't let your right shoulder be completely caved forwards. Roll that back. And then return to the center, slowly bringing the right leg back in. And then switch to the other side. Left leg starts to lift. Again, move slowly, pause wherever you feel. If you start to lose your balance, just pause there, regain control, maybe continue further, maybe just stay where you were. Bring the left leg back to the center. Now you can be doing that with your heels on the mat as well. From there, both legs. So again, the feet might only separate a couple inches. They might continue to maybe a foot apart. They might continue eventually maybe making straight legs. Now from here, keep the chest lifted, keep the shoulders back. If there is any bend of your knees whatsoever, just release one leg at a time onto the mat. If you have straight legs, flex the ankles so your calves are exposed and come on down. Now from here, you're in a straddle. Again, sit on a block if you need a little bit of help. Heels are kicking out, quads are active to help the legs stay straight. Inhale, lift up, reach forwards, fold. Exhale, hinge at the hips, hands to the mat out in front of you. Hands can stay on the mat and you can keep walking forwards. You can maybe drop to your forearms. If it feels better, you can grab a hold of your legs. It's not necessarily a deeper variation here, it's just a matter of preference. You've got a few breaths. Kicking out through your heels, thinking about your thighs, rolling back just a little bit. 2 more. And then release, come back up to the top. Release, draw the knees up into your chest, roll back to face the front of your mat if you turned at all, if you readjusted. Now your first option, if you've had enough, if you are ready for the end of the class, then just take the knees into your chest, roll down onto your back. We're gonna come here in a few moments for the last few postures. If you would like a final vinyasa, cross your ankles, roll forwards, coming forwards over your knees, step or jump the feet back into plank, moving through your final vinyasa. Exhaling to chaturanga, inhaling cobra or upward facing dog, downward facing dog. And if you took that final vinyasa, come all the way back through to a seat. Inhale, step or jump, and then all the way down onto your back to join the rest. Knees come in and then roll down. Rock a little side to side here for a breath. And then go ahead, release your knees, set the feet to the mat, preparing for bridge pose. Feet about hips width apart, heels just out of reach of your fingertips. And the heels are slightly wider than your toes, a little bit pigeon-toed again. From there, press down into the feet, press the palms down next to you. Inhale, lift your hips. Engage your glutes to support your lower back, letting the hips tip up. Pushing through the legs then, walking the shoulder blades together underneath you so that the chest is open. First option, stay here, pushing into the hands. Second option, interlace the fingers underneath you, reaching the knuckles to your heels. 3 breaths. Open the chest. Strong legs to move the chest further back towards the chin. Last one. And then release. Release the mind of the hands. Separate the shoulder blades, rolling down one vertebrae at a time. The lower back is going to unwind last. Then go ahead, draw the right knee up into your chest, wrapping the arms around the right leg. Release the left leg long to the mat. And then switch. Draw the left knee up towards you and release the right leg long. And then go ahead and release the left leg as well. So both legs are going to go long to the mat. Once again, acquaint yourself with your lefts and rights. Take your left leg about 45-ish degrees to the left side of your mat, maybe a bit shallower, maybe about 30 degrees. Then cross your right ankle on top of your left ankle. Right ankle crosses on top of the left. You want that right leg, top leg to be straight, so kick through the heel, and you don't want this hip to roll up off of the mat. You want it back down, so both hips are flat, both legs are straight. Then reach the arms up overhead. Grab your right wrist with your left hand. So that left hand takes a hold of the right wrist and then pulls your right arm across to the left side of the room. Hands and feet moving in the same direction, creating length in your whole right side of the body. Gaze can go wherever is most comfortable. One more on this side. And then coming back to the center, release the arms, release the legs back to the middle, and then just into the other side. So the right leg is going to move 30 degrees or so off to the side edge of the mat. Left ankle crosses on top. Again, kick through the left heel. Kind of flex the ankles so they hook in with one another. Then reach the arms up. Your right hand grabs a hold of your left wrist and pulls that left arm across to the side. Your shoulders might shift over a bit to the side of the mat as well, so that you can create a bit more arch in that left side. And then come back to the center. Draw the knees up into your chest. And then preparing for your twists. Release the knees, set the feet down onto the mat. Shift your hips to the right side of the mat. Hips move over to the right side. For your twist, two options. First option, knees stay together. Second option, right thigh crosses on top of your left thigh. Wherever you are, knees draw up, and then the knees across to the left. Let your hips tip over. Once the knees are at the left, your gaze goes to the right, to the opposite direction. Taking just another 3 to 5 breaths on this side. Still watching as the body opens and then settles a little deeper. When you're ready, come back to the center. Take your time. Knees can draw in for a breath or two. And then release the knees, setting the feet down. Your hips shift to the left. If you're crossing the legs, it's left on top of the right. Knees to the belly, and then knees to the right side of the mat. Gaze dropping out to the left. When you're ready, coming back to the center, unwinding the legs, drawing the knees into your chest, and then preparing yourself for your Shavasana. If you've got props, pillows, blankets, anything that you need to add on, go ahead and get that stuff now. If you have a favorite shape for your body, go ahead and find it. Otherwise, the legs can release long to the mat. The arms can drop down by your sides, palms facing upwards. Adjust that position if you need to. Close your eyes. Shavasana. Release the fingers and the toes. Release the ankles and wrists. The knees and elbows. Let the hips sink down into the mat as the legs flop open away from one another. The shoulders melt down as your breath returns to normal. Your lips may slightly part as you release your jaw, letting the tongue come away from the roof of your mouth. Softening the space between the eyebrows. Softening the space behind the ears. Listening to any sounds that may be around you. Letting them wash over your body. Creating stillness. Watching as your thoughts come in and out through your mind. Letting them finish. Letting them pass. Without creating any attachments to them. Finding the space that exists inside your mind. And finding some peace. Slowly beginning to deepen your breath. Beginning to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Circling the ankles and wrists. Rocking the head from side to side. Inhale to reach the arms overhead, reaching long through the fingers and through the toes. Exhale, draw the knees into the belly, wrap the arms around them, giving yourself one last big hug, rocking from side to side. Eventually winding up on your right hand side, using your right bicep as a pillow. Remaining in Shavasana with your eyes closed. And when you're ready, press into your left palm, coming up to any comfortable seated position. Palms may press together at chest center if you choose. May you take only what is offered. Take only what you need and always give more than you take. Stay safe, stay kind, stay aware. Thank you. Namaste.